به نام خداوند جان و خرد کز این برتر اندیشه بر نگذرد. خداوند نام و خداوند جای، خداوند روزی ده رهنمای. توانا بود هر که دانا بود، ز دانش دل پیر برنا بود. به نام خداوند جان آفرین، حکیم سخن بر زبان آفرین.
This is a manuscript of the Shahnameh, or the Book of Kings, by the great poet Firdousi. This is a legendary book, and there is a legend about the making of it. The king who commissioned the book promised Firdousi a gold coin for each couplet. And as Firdousi says, he composed over 60,000 rhyming couplets. So when he was finished with the book, he took it to a king. Now this was a new king. Dynasties had changed. And this new king gave him 20,000 coins. Firdousi was distraught, he was disappointed, and being at the age of 71 roughly, he had no hope left. After a few years, probably over a decade, as historians tell us, the king was persuaded to change his mind and give what was due to the poet. But alas, it was too late. As the king sent what was due to the poet, the caravan was entering from one part of the city, and from the other gate of the city, the poet's body was being taken to the cemetery. When he got to the cemetery, he was denied burial because they said that he was a Shia instead of a different sect of Islam. So he is now buried in his own orchard where he lived all his life, where he composed this book for 35 years. There are many pieces in this collection at Shangri-La, but this one touched me deeply. On top, going all the way around the vase, is an inscription. This is peace and salutations upon the Prophet and his progeny. The Prophet, his son-in-law, his daughter, and the 12 grandsons that come after that in succession. This inscription in the middle is a poem in the Persian language. So you have an inscription in Arabic and a poem in Persian. Now, as I was told, This vase was purchased in a town called Tabriz. People of Tabriz do not speak Persian or Arabic. They speak Azeri or Azerbaijani dialect of Turkish language. There is a legend with a poem that's inscribed in the middle. It says that the poet lost his son and he composed a lamentation for his son. After a few nights, the first Imam came to his sleep and said, "O Muhtasham," Muhtasham was his name, "why don't you compose a lamentation for my son?" The third Imam also died in a tragic battle. And when Muhtasham was in his sleep, he asked the first Imam, "What should I say? I don't know how to begin." And the first Imam gave him the opening couplet of the poem. This poem is the most famous religious poem in the Persian language. It's much longer than we have here. It's actually in 12 sections. And what is inscribed here around the bowl are the opening couplets. Any Iranian who's lived in Iran has heard this poem or knows some of it at least by heart. It goes as such: بازین چه شورش است که در خلق عالم است، بازین چه نوحه و چه عذاب و چه ماتم است, and so on. The legend that's attached to this poem, of course, gives it some legitimacy. But the artistry of the poet was so immense that even until now, people recite this poem and memorize it. And it was so beloved that even in a town where people do not speak the language, this poem was honored and inscribed on this vase. It's not only inscribed, but it's artistically written here, because what you have is beautiful calligraphy, but it's not enough to have only the calligraphy. With the metalwork, you have motifs of branches and leaves that are intertwined under the text, which adds beauty to the design. This is something that if you see it, it might not be as beautiful as some pieces in the collection. It's not colorful, it's not something that you can carry and have on you. But to me, it's one of the most beautiful pieces in the collection because of the story that's associated with the vase and because of the importance of the text that is inscribed on it.